Hello and welcome. I am the Restless Kaiser.
And I'm Johnny B.
I'm Brush and Quill.
I'm Graham from Grapenow Games.
But together we are
Modeling
for Advantage.
Yeah, good.
Let's catch up with all the lovely people we got in the chat. We got Rich John is here. Hello there, mate. We got Alad there, of course. The Head Rat. Some awesome chat. Plan on playing some board game minis. Mansions of Madness, 2nd edition to be exact. That sounds like a Cthulhu thing, mate. Very nice.
Definitely.
Looking forward to learning more about 0200 hours. You will learn more about that game tonight for sure. Saffron69 is here. I played a game of 40k with Saffron69 a couple of weeks ago, and I'm still editing the video. That game takes a long time. Tony Holton is here. Friends of General Haig is here. Good evening, sir. And Bob Edwards, best wishes from New Zealand. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning in there. Probably even worse. That's Western Australia. What time is it over there, Bob? Vinny is here. Hello, Vinny, and Mini Walmart. All right, hobbying tonight then. I am going to try, but this is a bit messy, getting some filler to just smooth out the... oh, you can't see what I'm talking about here. So I've super glued and flashed and so forth these minis, which Graham kindly sent us for Test of Honor. I'm just going to put a little bit of filler on to help with the transition to the base. What are you up to, John?
They're the Samurai. That's nice.
Samurai!
I'm currently putting some transfers on some Romance Shields. Not very well. That's what I'm doing. Callum, you up to much?
I'm painting a set of Napoleonic backpacks.
Wow. For the British?
The British, of course.
Huzzah! Mr. Davis.
Infantry, not hussars.
Oh, well, yeah, true. Does Mr. Davy have all the things on his desk to paint?
I'm sticking. I've got some shiny new plastics from hot off the 0200 press. So I'm going to see this very small.
Get a big screen. Boom.
Spoilers.
It's a dog.
Oh, Alsatian.
Yeah.
Perfect for sentry duty. Right. Do you know what, Mr. Davies, sir? Whilst we have your beautiful face on the screen, as the gentleman formerly known as Wordy Bloke from White Dwarf, would you like to tell our beautiful viewers who you are and what you're currently doing, sir?
Yes. Hi, I'm Graham. As you say, in the long distance past, I was a White Dwarfer at Games Workshop and worked around various different departments there as well. Since then, I've worked for Warlord Games, and currently I'm running my own little one-man company called Grapenow Games, which is named for all the many unpainted figures on my desk right now.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect name. Right, there we go. There we are.
Bob Edwards says it's 8:32 a.m. just starting the day at work. Mate, if you have the kind of job where you can sit and watch a couple of old guys talking crap about war games, I need a job like that. And Vinny is a new member. Mate, thank you very much for your generous membership fee. I will be sure to spend that on beer and tobacco. No. Tony Holland doing lots of little bits. Set dressing for a time somewhere in the 70s for my 3rd Doctor Who unit. John Pertwee, mate. 3rd Doctor. That's the best one. 100%.
Hopefully it's the Fishmen.
Especially the Fishmen, yeah. Reimagined to look exactly the same in a recent episode.
So is that for like 7 TV or something?
It must be, surely.
So, right, Graham then. Graham. So, as I understand Graham, some years ago, you and Andy Hobday sort of fleshed out an idea for a game which you went away and wrote, and that is Test of Honor. Is that right?
Yes, so I knew Andy from way back, and we both worked at Games Workshop together, and we both did Aikido together. And
Was that the game for their Nippon range? Or you mean you actually did Aikido?
Yes, yeah, we're both we're both black belts in Aikido.
Whoa!
And yeah, spent many hours throwing each other around the room. So anyway, that kind of gave us both an interest in Japanese stuff and samurai and things.
Yeah.
And we had both ended up working at Warlord. And Andy just said one day that he'd like to do some skirmish game with samurai. So I kind of went away and just came up with a few little ideas for that, and then things escalated. And after a while, we'd worked out a whole little game system, and Andy kept asking me to, well, I wish we could do this and that. And every night I would go home and write a bit more. And pretty soon we had a little group of staff members playing this little samurai game in the evenings. And just random luck that Warlord acquired a load of plastics from Wargames Factory,
Yes.
which included a load of samurai stuff. So they asked us if they could use our game because it was ready, more or less ready to go. Obviously, we were jumped at the chance, and I did a load more work to kind of. We switched it to the special dice that with the little
proprietary
dice on and
dice.
stuff like that at that point, and did a lot more work on it. And the game seemed to go very well. It was much smaller and more self-contained than everything else Warlord had done up to that point. So it's you obviously only need 10 models each to get started. It's a smaller board. It's a quicker game time. So it's a very easy kind of extra game to get into. You don't need to build a whole army. So it was, I think that was a part of its appeal for people. It's nice and
for sure,
easy and accessible. And
it's a big,
it grew
part
from
of the
there.
appeal for us. Definitely. So from there, we'll talk about Testament. We'll get some pictures up in a minute. So, Mortal Gods, then, which is the only one of these kind of very similar game. Were you not involved in that at all? Was that just Andy?
So yeah, Andy has helped set up Footsore Miniatures, which is another of the many little companies in Nottingham.
Yeah.
So he took the kind of the very basic structure of Test of Honor and span it off in a different direction for Mortal Gods. And I suppose I've done roughly the same with 0200 hours now. Again, it's more or less the same size and shape of game, and just the same, and a few little elements that will be familiar. So if you're coming to the new game from Test of Honor, in the same way that Mortal Gods feels similar, there'll be some similar bits and bobs and mechanics in there, although it is quite different in it once you get down to everything.
Yeah. I like the act react element of it, which makes it much more suitable for a skirmish game. I think there's a bit more to it as the player who's receiving things. My skill at protecting myself or whatever is a factor in this. It's not just an armor thing. So for anyone that's not familiar, and probably most people are, but let's have a quick look then at the pictures that you sent through from Test of Honor. So because since you have now, you've done a new edition of Test of Honor. I've had a look at it. It doesn't look radically different, although I understand there are some differences, particularly with stats and unit cards. But you've got a range of metal miniatures to support that, some of which I'm working on here. These are entirely new.
Yes,
right?
all the minute. So essentially, we agreed with Warlord that we kind of take over publication of the game. So essentially, we took the core mechanics and the title. Essentially, that's what we got. So all the old miniatures have been folded back into Warlord's range. They're kind of for pike and shot and things like that. So yeah, we did a whole new range. And yeah, as you say, the game is broadly similar. It was only 2 years after we launched, so we didn't want to rewrite things radically. But we just tweaked some things. We brought in, the first game had the mechanic of dishonor cards. So when you got the chance, you could choose to do something dastardly and stab your opponent in the back. So we added in honor cards to present the flip side of that. So you could also
that was part of the original game.
Yeah. So no, that's the version 2.
Right.
We added the honor cards, so you have that option to not stab that person in the back, to give them a second to turn to face you before you launch your attack, which in turn bolsters the rest of your troops as they see how noble and just you are.
Right.
Sweet.
But you still need heads for the ceremony, right?
Oh yeah. So you still want to kill them,
Still gonna kill them. All right. So you sent me some pictures, obviously showcasing the miniatures, but actually with these as well, each of the miniature sets, it's like an expansion pack, right? There's new characters, new cards. So these are not just 8 random models, are there? This is a particular set. So tell us a little bit about what we're looking at here, please.
Yeah, so each set comes with completely unique cards. These guys are called the Unlikely Allies, and really the idea really was that it could almost be the cast of a film. The game's very much inspired by old samurai movies rather than just being purely historical.
Specifically the 7 Samurai.
Yes, and all those great Kurosawa films. So in my head, when I put together a force, it's always more like the cast of a film. So you have, in this case, the hostess of a tea room and her various clientele who come from different walks of life, but maybe they get attacked and have to band together and defend the place. Right.
So this is that. Yeah. The local daimyo sent his goons round to the tea house to sort out the miscreants, and these are the people that are there at the time.
Yes, precisely.
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of people will make miniatures like that, but what I'd seen, having a look on your no, I think actually I watched a review. I watched Family of Gamers done a review of this, Coach and his son, and these characters, they're quite unique. Each of these characters brings unique abilities, and the madam is actually, she can be your hero, your general.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So you could add these into your warband, but you can actually make a genuine warband out of these guys.
Precisely. One of the things with Test of Honor is that there aren't really any army lists. You have to have a hero to lead your guys, and 2 companions, which are like the supporting actors, if you like, and the rest are called followers, which are really like the extras in the film. But beyond that, you can absolutely mix them together however you want. So if you want to be a purely historical and have a military clan force of samurai and ashigaru soldiers, then that's fine. But you can just base it off some cool movie that's happening in your head and mix together ninjas and samurai and priests and monks and do whatever you want.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, dropped one of your beautiful miniatures on the floor.
Oh, it's gone.
All right, so yeah, these characters. Let's have a look at the next picture, which is here. So this is like the standard starter army, right? For one of the better terms.
So as we said, for the first edition, we had all the plastics that Warlord got hold of. So when we switched to second edition so quickly, I didn't want to force people to buy loads of new models. So the basic set that we put out doesn't have any models in it; just has everything, the rules and everything you need for the game.
Yeah.
So
and if you haven't seen it, we have reviewed that, and it is a beautiful little box.
Thank you very much. So this is one of our latest sets. We've kind of gone back to the core image of samurai and the ashigaru, who are the foot soldier guys. And this is the first set that I've sculpted myself.
Oh,
saying that. So this was your lockdown skill.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So I basically started tinkering around with the digital sculpting, and this is the end result. I'm very, very slow at it, but I think the results are okay. So
that's epic.
Yeah, heart out. Look at that. All right. So these, for anyone that doesn't know, then just a little bit about. So the game is set during the Sengoku Jidai, the period of warring clans.
Yeah.
And so the authority of the emperor had collapsed 100 odd years ago, but now there's a military leader called the Shogun, and it starts with the Onin War. There's a war between who's going to be the next Shogun. The kind of the authority of the Shogun has fallen apart, and from sort of 1600 is when it ends. So it's like is it 1450, 1460, but something. There's like 150 years of attempting one guy to come on top, like, okay, everybody do as you're told. And that's when this is set. Samurai, we often think of samurai as kind of being analogous to European knights, but they're not really. They are maybe in the Tokugawa shogunate, and it's much more political. But before the Sengoku period, pretty much all the fighters in Japan are samurai. They're all the professional soldiers are samurai, and the ashigaru, which we tend to think of as the infantry, this is a new thing, isn't it? A professional peasant soldier.
Yeah, I mean, they're still just conscripted farmers, so I don't know. I guess they became professional after a few years of campaigning.
Yeah. Is that you are now a soldier and you can have a weapon?
Yeah, but there was one particular samurai lord who was the first to start arming them as a professional army. I think it was that the Udo clan.
I don't know. There's so much to know in this.
Too much.
Yeah, so you started getting massive blocks of guys with pikes, and in the middle of all this period, I think some Dutch merchants got shipwrecked on one of the islands and happened to have some firearms.
Like any fool can use one of these.
Samurai quickly copied and muskets spread across all the armies. So it's a massive period of upheaval and change. Whereas the main weapon for a samurai before now was a bow.
Yes, on horse with a bow.
They were mounted archers essentially.
Yeah.
And they soon realised that it was much more efficient to make 10 muskets and give them to a load of peasants than it was to train one samurai for 20
For a
years to
lifetime.
be able to shoot his bow well enough.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
yeah, massive change. And then they realised that it might be a good idea to give all their cavalry lances instead and charge at those guys with guns. And kind of that the innovation of lancers in Japan as well came in this period too.
Yeah. So you've got and you've also had Buddhism come to Japan as well, which we'll get onto. I think that's the next picture.
Religious upheaval, and there's so much stuff going on.
So that's the problem with these guys, right? Is these guys are Buddhists. They don't believe in the divinity of the emperor. They've got horrible Chinese influences, like everything else in Japan, but the Japanese don't like to acknowledge that. And these guys, as I understand it, so these are the Sohai. This particular set is the Sohai Temple Guard, but these guys are associated with the Ikki-Ikko rebels, and they're anti-samurai.
Well, the Ikki-Ikko in particular was an uprising, kind of a peasant uprising, but it was supported. None of these things were entirely simple. So there were peasants, but there were also samurai and monks supporting this rebellion. Whereas the Sohai monks, yes, they would fight on their own sometimes, but other times they were paid or allied with samurai armies. Eventually, one of the bigger clans, the Oda clan, effectively wiped them out, attacked all their temples, and they built these enormous fortress temples in a couple of kind of key places around Japan. And he just sent enormous armies, surrounded them, destroyed them, burnt the whole thing to the ground, and killed everyone.
I think this is towards the end of the Sengoku period, and because these guys you could hire them effectively as mercenaries. It's one of these big factions that could really change the balance of power.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so I mean, I've got to say, if you sculpted these guys, they look nice, and seeing some a bit more up close. I know some of you've seen these before. This is Johnny B's Sohai Temple.
Oh God! Did I not send you the finished pictures?
This one, I don't think you sent me the finished pictures. So these are the nearly finished ones.
Well, they are finished now, and yes, they're lovely little miniatures.
They really are.
So that guy at the front, I was going to say, that guy at the front really has that kicking you out the temple vibe to
it.
So,
let's put John on the big screen. Where is he? John, not me, John. Yeah.
Ta-da!
Oh, lovely.
I basically followed the box art.
So you can tell him what it says, Graham, that is written on there.
Please tell me it says like Kung Pao chicken and like
with rice and noodles.
Yeah. I don't know what it says.
That raises a question I have. Are you planning to do, or do you do mon transfers for your figures? For people who are wanting to do clans?
I don't. I think there's a very good community around the game, and we're very open for people to use different miniatures, create their own stuff. So I know there's there's a few other companies that do transfers. I think there's some people on our Facebook group which produce some transfers if you want to go that way.
Nice.
Good to know. What are you thinking, Callum? Have you got a specific clan in mind?
No, I just know that when I got the Warlord set, when the plastics first came out, I was surprised that there wasn't any in the bottom of the box. You know, I was like, "Oh, that would have been useful." So I was just wondering if it was a step you'd taken. That was all.
They are out there, but yes, it's not me.
So as a game, here's one of the unit cards, because I think it can kind of illustrate what you're looking at. It's both, you know, the style of this is really strong. But if you see the numbers across the bottom, basically when you attack, when you defend, when you do what you do, you take however many of the proprietary dice, and you're looking for successes as swords. There is a 2-sword result, and then there's a fail result as well. But you only fail if you have more failures than successes in total. Is that right, Graham?
Well, you get you fail the roll, but you get a fumble if you get more. So something particularly bad happens, you fall over or get hit when you were trying to hit the other guy and stuff like that.
Yeah. And it's an alternating activation, and you're not quite sure what you'll get to activate, because there's hero activations and goon activations. So on John's activation, you might pull out a goon, and therefore he can't move his hero now. And the heroes, one of the things, it's not just that their stats are higher, which they are, is they just act so much more often. They can do so much more in a turn.
Yeah, again, going back to that inspiration from the films, the core idea for me was to get that idea of a kind of master swordsman who could kill this guy, spin around, kill the guy behind him, skewer the guy over there, and have that not be kind of stuck in a static combat. It's very fluid.
While all the goons are just fighting in the background.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and that chance of being able to have this amazing run of kills if you get lucky.
Absolutely. Here's your card, John.
What's that one?
Of the Clan.
Shame of the Clan, Johnny Bizzle.
Yeah. So that's Test of Honor. That's been out for a while, I know, although there's a new edition. But what people really want to hear about, though, is on the next pictures. So we'll look at the pictures of 0-200 hours, and you can tell us all about the game as we're going. So so one of the reasons I wanted to talk about Test of Honor, both because we're going to do it soon as a channel, but also the core mechanics, that kind of, you make a skill test with a number of dice, that's carrying over, right? If you play Test of Honor, you're gonna find it familiar.
Certain bits are, particularly the most obvious thing is that initiative system of drawing out a counter, whether it's either one of your character models or one of your troopers, as we're calling it in this game, will dictate who you can use next. And then the 3 counters, and when the 3rd one comes out, then that's the end of the turn. So that bit is completely familiar.
You got uncertain timeline, haven't you?
Kind of new. So yes, this is 0200 hours. It's World War II, and it's very specifically about commando raids at night. So night fighting, sneaking around, trying to take out the enemy sentries, planting demo charges, and trying to sneak away without being spotted. Although that very rarely happens, it usually ends up in a big firefight.
This is what happens in all the, Jason Bourne movies and what have you.
Well, precisely. Once again, it's very much me echoing great films I've seen, Where Eagles Dare, Guns of Navarone, all those cheesy war men.
Calling Danny Boy and all that. Yeah. Ice Cold in Alex, is that going to feature?
Definitely on the list, yes.
Definitely on the list, yeah. All right. So creeping around at night. So is this a single player game then?
No, it's designed for one person to be the attacker, the commandos, and the other player to play the defenders. So it's completely asynchronous, I think is the trendy term.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
And the defender will starts the game by setting out their patrol route. So you have a set of sentries and probably an officer or 2 to put down initially, but you need to actually plan out your patrol route around the table and where you want your sentries to go.
and that's essentially the agency of the defender.
Yes, absolutely. So, and then as those sentries move, you'll be rolling dice for each movement. In fact, I mean, the attackers do as well. So every time anyone moves, you roll dice to see how quiet you've been, how far you go, how aware you are. So your dice rolls for the sentry will dictate whether they are paying attention, whether they're looking around, or whether they're just watching their shoelaces as they go along, smoking a cigarette.
Right.
This is going to be so good.
We'll come to it in a minute. You can see some of the miniatures there. So people can obviously use, if you've got some paratroopers or commandos in woolly hats already, you can play this game from where you get token sheet in a rule book, right?
Well, again, they're special dice, but yeah, if you can get all those things together, then yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But the Nazi models, they are sentry type models, the ones that you've got with this, and the guy with the dog. They're not all in shouldered rifles and so forth.
No. I mean, there's hundreds of models of German soldiers, so I wanted to kind of do something, find a little niche, which is a bit different. So yeah, all the plastic German models that come in the set are deliberately sentry poses. So they're standing, walking, guns slung over their shoulders, smoking a cigarette, shining torches around. So yeah, very, very specifically sentries and not fighting soldiers.
Yeah. And the ones that are going to come in the set is it British commandos and German sentries? These are plastic sprues.
Yeah, they're multiple plastic sprues. So they're SAS actually.
All right.
So SAS with lots of cool sneaky. That's not the right frame.
Are you going to show us a frame? I'll make you big.
Well, I can wave it in front of you. Okay, lots of cool things on there. So that's the sneaky commandos. They've got silenced weapons, Delisle carbines, well rod pistols, as well as Sten guns.
Nazi weapons.
Say again, sorry.
Any captured Nazi weapons?
Not on here, but again, perfect kind of kit bashing fodder, I would say.
Because these models have been sculpted by the guy over at War Games Atlantic, so these models are going to fit in very well with anybody who's got them partisans or the new Panzerlehr.
Yeah.
In terms of scale, we're not saying that the arms fit, but they're the same kind of scale.
Yes, yeah, they should scale nicely with those. As you say, they're French partisans that they've done are very nice, so they'll fit in really well.
Yeah. So what head options have you got on these SAS guys? Is it just berets or a woolly hats? I think that's how the commando fights.
We've got berets, we've got woolly hats, we've got bare heads with cool kind of slightly film star slick back hair. We've got some still with their kind of parachute helmets on.
Nice.
And so yeah. Nice selection there.
Let's move on to the next picture. I want to make sure we get through all of these.
Get through all the pictures.
Oh, that's one of mine.
Was that the only 0200 picture I had? That's slipped in there. That's some Callum.
Slipped in there. That's not in the game.
Yeah, Callum, tell him what he's looking at here.
Well, Ginger bloke.
That's Sergeant Johnny Bizzle. That is.
Oh, hey!
The commission that Callum's working on. Right. Oh, here we go. Look. Woolly hat, mate.
This is what we're after.
This is what Look at that. Oh,
the quality of moustache is so good.
Some of these bros haven't got mustaches, mate.
Well, they're obviously the guys that die first.
They haven't earned them yet.
or is he just blonde? He might have a blonde tash actually. Graham, have they all got tashes? Can you confirm?
No, there are some are tashless, but
Oh,
Yeah, they're obviously
tashes for your characters.
oh, right.
The others are the young lads who are probably going to die.
Yeah,
fortunate, but true.
So this is a nice mixture. Obviously, the red beret is cool, right? But look at that woolly hat, mate. That guy means business.
He does.
He's like, yeah. And I see what you mean about the kind of film star look. But I'm not wearing a hat, mate. I'm using Brill cream today.
Brill cream knife.
Even like the pose with that, like, is that a light machine gun there? Just sort of looks like he's just turned around and somebody's opened a door behind him or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got a guy with a Sten, a guy with a Bren gun.
Bren gun, that's the one.
The kneeling guy, he's actually got a knife, hasn't he?
Yeah.
It's a bit hard to see, but yeah.
Is there going to be any throwy knife ones?
No, I haven't done a throwy knife. I don't think. I guess probably in films that it's how far away from historical you want to go. I guess. But,
you said film star stuff, sir.
I did. Yes. So
we're going to show you the Germans in a minute. We're just having a look at these commandos. Really nice. So, how many guys on the frame? Is it these 6 poses?
There's 6 bodies. But there's a hell of a lot of variety. So I think those are the six bodies that
Okay, so they're the Britishers. I mean, they look nice. How for people that are just looking at this and thinking, I need these miniatures for my existing paras. How close to scale of say like a warlord British paratrooper is this guy going to fit in?
I think they're pretty close actually. I think warlords stuff tends to have slightly bigger heads. Slight and big and giant hands, but warlords just got a slightly more cartoony style, I guess. So these are a touch more realistic, but I think the height is pretty comparable. Right, So I think
they're not real slim. Like Perry's infantry is a lot slimmer than other people's, for example.
They're a little bit slimmer. This is just going off the partisan dude blokes that I've got, but they do fit. They fit in quite well, I think.
All right.
So,
and then the Bosches. Look at them filthy Honda.
Oh, look at that!
I love the shouty officer. For yours, the fight is over.
I just like the poor bloke with the glasses.
Yeah. Are they goggles or glasses?
One guy in a greatcoat having a fag late at night. One guy with the binoculars. The shouty officer. He's just a generic bro, isn't he?
Bloke with a bicycle, and you know.
Yeah, these aren't meant to be frontline troops by any means.
No. Have any of these guys got gorgets on the scope?
Yeah, I don't think I sent you a picture, but yeah, there's separate gorgets on the frame, so you can.
Oh, you glue the gorget on.
So you add them on and make your military police guys.
Right.
That's awesome.
Right, yeah, because that's the standout thing in the middle. And actually, a lot of the movies don't have because it's a big flappy bit of metal. Probably not that great for acting in. So you get one Alsatian per 6 guys as well.
You get 2.
You get 2.
There's that one, and there's a sitting one as well.
Nice. He had loads of dogs, and these. Does the dog have separate stats?
So how it works, as you see, is based on that with the handler. So essentially, you as the defender, you can choose basic sentries, which are a bit better at shooting than everyone else. They might not be the best soldiers, but they're soldiers. You can get your military police, the Fel gendarmes, who are a bit better at finding the commandos. or you can choose the dog handlers. So they are the dogs obviously are good at sniffing you out at close range, and they can also one of the things in this game is that models all have a facing. They have a front or a back, which allows you to do fun things, kind of sneaking behind the sentries as they go along their patrol route. Whereas with the dogs, that obviously won't work because they'll sniff you out probably.
Sniff you out? Oh, obviously, you can't damage the dogs, can you? You're not allowed to hurt them. So in game,
essentially, you kill the handler and the dog runs off. Or there is a card where the dog runs wild and attacks everyone once when his handler's killed.
Yeah. Kidnapping. So, in terms of is that the last one of these? I think that's the last one of these. Yeah. Oh, but look at that! Hey, I mentioned this earlier. Oh, there you are when you were young and beautiful, Graham.
Yeah, lots more hair.
Look at that. That's the copy of the Orcs Drift thing that I got Paul Sawyer to sign for John. Is it? Where you're on
I have to get you to sign it as well, Graham.
Yeah. So in terms of the initial set, then let's sort of try and deal with some of the things that people are. So Sub said back up here. So now I guess initial concerns about this is I really like the idea, but I feel like I'm going to need a lot of terrain to play this game. So what's the table size? Tell us about the kind of setups that you might be able to do for someone who wants to play this game on a relative budget rather than invest £100 in scenery and build it and paint it. Give me some examples of how that might work.
Okay, so the standard size for the game's same as Test of Honor is just a 3 by 3 foot by 3 foot table, which is quite small. So the advice for setting up games is to put down 10 different things. Now that could be a cool factory building, a radar dish, but it could just be a wood. So if you've got any kind of war games collection, woods and hills and fences, ruined farm buildings, anything will work. You don't have to have the kind of full military, including
presumably vehicles.
Yeah, the vehicles don't move around or do anything.
No, I mean it's a piece of scenery.
But yes,
park
vehicles, yeah, absolutely. So you can have, parked
half. Have a Kugelwagen.
Yeah, all those kind of smallish things make a nice objective or a bit of useful bit of terrain to get in the way. It certainly helps to have a good amount of terrain, but
I mean, I'm assuming you mentioned, Graham, that it's this is night ops, this is like proper raids. So I'm guessing you don't need to worry too much about line of sight because most of it is going to be limited range of detection. Yeah. So
it's all quite short range. So in theory, you could potentially sneak across a field without being spotted. One of the things in the game is that until you're spotted, and this goes both ways for the enemies, the defenders and the attackers, until you've spotted an enemy soldier, you can't shoot them, you can't even move towards them.
Oh wow, okay.
There's a whole kind of an extra step from most war games, which move, shoot, fight. We're putting in a fourth step really. So it's move, spot the enemy, shoot and fight. So it's that kind of extra little step that you need to do.
But there is that moment, am I right, in every game when the sentry in the box grinds the alarm and then all the bad guys swarm.
Yes, absolutely. So there's
alarm!
An alarm hell system which gradually builds up as the sentries spot the commandos, or if they find a dead body. So because if you kill a sentry, you have to leave the body there, unless you can drag it away and hide it. So
In a
they
haystack.
find a body, hear a shot in the distance, all those things will gradually raise the alarm level. And when the alarm finally goes off, then at that point, the sentries get essentially the second half of their force come on, all their reserves rush on, and they get much more freedom of what they can do. They can start shooting back.
Right.
If your sneaky skill is high enough, can you shoot a German sentry in the head and then not really react? I'm kind of hoping it's that kind of game. Like if your skill's high enough,
Like Skyrim, you mean?
yeah,
so,
you know.
That's the knee, mate.
So it's essentially it all works with a dice. So there's two types of dice, but we have what we call the noisy dice and the quiet dice. So if you're shooting at someone, you're going to be rolling quite a few of the noisy dice, and one face of that dice is it's called an alert, and that means you've given away your location. You're now being detected by the other side. So obviously, if you're firing a Tommy gun, rolling lots of those noisy dice, there's a very good chance you're going to give away your position. But the quiet dice has a face which negates those alerts and helps you stay hidden.
Sweet.
So if you're firing a silenced pistol, you'll maybe roll just one noisy dice and a couple of the quiet ones. So there's a fairly good chance of you getting away with it and not be spotted.
Right.
Nice.
Did I read in your interview, though, that doesn't necessarily reveal your entire squad of sneaky people?
Yes, you get detected on an individual basis. So we put down a little marker when you spot an enemy soldier, and that has some interesting effects. So when a commando is spotted, the sentries start to move towards him, and if they get close enough, obviously they're going to raise the alarm and start shooting. But that will draw those sentries in a particular direction and may give you a chance to sneak someone else around the other side.
Right. Yeah. Okay, Ginger, you go that way and make some noise.
Yeah,
man.
You can use that as a tactic if you want. Just send the guy with a Bren gun down that end of the table.
Yeah.
And the quiet guy's the other way.
Yeah. All right. So let's get on to the meat of it. Is there going to be a starter set of some description? It's not an accident that you're here tonight, right? You showed me a month or two ago. You sent me a proof copy of the rules. We're presumably getting quite close to release now.
Yes, we are. So we are looking at launching the pre-orders in the next week or so. The thing we're really waiting on is all these being made. These are just samples that came straight from the tool maker, but the proper production plastics are being made as we speak in America by War Games Atlantic. And then once they're made, then we're at the mercy of international freight, which is a bit up in the air these days. So I'm hoping potentially July everything might land. We can get it out to everybody. Hopefully be able to put together some sample copies to send out to reviewers like your good self before then. But that's the kind of timeline we're looking at now.
So sometime you expect to be sending out people pre-ordered back end of July, early August is when
yes,
people
that's looking likely. Fingers crossed. Yeah.
But you'll be available on Grey for Now Games. You'll be taking pre-orders over the next few weeks.
Yeah. We'll be launching them very soon.
So
in fact, we're just next week. Everyone on my newsletter mailing list will be getting a full digital copy of the rule book for. So we're giving away that for free for all our newsletter subscribers. So worth jumping on the site.
Sign up for the website. Sign up for the newsletter. You'll get that. So is there going to be a start set of some description? You're obviously not quite fixed on the price and so forth yet until you got the final details through. What So the basic starter set, then what's in that? We've seen sprues, we've seen a rule book.
Yeah, so you'll be getting shiny rule book. Looks like that. Well, wait, there we go. Nice, full of nice stuff.
I've read this rule book. It's very readable. There's a lot of rules in it, but it's not like a 40k manual. It's not written in nonsense. It is readable.
Game counters look like that.
Very nice.
The special dice, which I've mentioned, you've got the noisy dice, which are the white ones, and the quiet dice are the grey ones. There's 80 different gaming cards, which we've not even talked about the cards really yet, but they all do lots of crazy things. And you get 12 SAS and 18 sentries in there.
Oh, right. Quite a lot of bros then.
That's a load of bros.
So that'll give you plenty of scope to build different weapon options and try out some different forces.
I mean, that's a decent model count as well. Now, would I be right though in believing that you'll be able to play the game with sort of 5 or 6 commandos and 10 or 15 sentries while you learn? That's a game you can play.
Absolutely.
But you can scale it up. Yeah. That was the impression I got from looking at it. So you mentioned cards. So are the cards going to follow a similar pattern to what we've seen with Testimonial? So there's unit cards with stats on, and then there's a series of like special equipment or special abilities. Yeah.
So as you say, broadly like Testimonial, but the attackers and the defenders get completely different deck of cards to play with. So the attackers getting cards, they're called order cards, which are allowing them to do two actions in one turn. So they can maybe manage to spot someone and shoot, or do a double run to really cover a lot of ground and do some heroic stuff. It's either that, or you get to use 2 soldiers at the same time and both take an action immediately after each other. Stuff like that. On the other hand, the defenders get event cards, which are really add a lot of fun for the defenders' side. So these do firstly things that the defenders actively doing, like you might play a card that suddenly changes the direction of all your sentries and they start patrolling the other way around, anti-clockwise instead of clockwise, or this particular sentry suddenly what goes over to the officer and talks to him, and you can play these as a suddenly whenever you want to in the game to try and catch out the SAS and try and actually manage.
So that's like from a hand of cards. I can choose to play this.
Yes, exactly.
At this moment, I'm going to go and get a light from the other guy because I know that's going to good. And then that deck also covers just random bad luck, like the moon suddenly came out from behind a cloud, or your guy jumped over a wall, but I play this card, now you're stuck on the barbed wire and you can't move any further. So all of those things is giving the defender kind of lots of fun on their side of the game as well. Yeah. Well, I did say, probably said to you before the show, and I certainly felt with a game like this, it's going to stand or fail on the amount of agency of the patrolling faction. It could be a very dull game for them, but it sounds like the thing, it's like this guy is going to move around here and do nothing else. But it sounds like you've thought about that a lot and brought that player some. I don't just mean like roll the dice and if I succeed, I'm okay. But I can actually make some choices when they're playing these cards. Yeah. There actually are there's some gameplay here for me to make choices, which I think is really important. So that's the starter set. That's the basic game. There's also a range of metal miniatures. I've seen you got like a hair flick type character and so forth. Are these part of the initial release, and are these expansion sets in the same way as the Samurai Warband that we looked at? More units.
Yeah, it's kind of roughly in that ballpark. Yeah, so we've got on launch, we're going to have the two expansion sets, one for the Germans and one for the British. Each of those sets will have some metal character figures. As you say, you've seen some of them. They'd have some metal heads which will swap into the plastics, and a couple more sprues in there as well, and a load of new cards. So the Germans are getting a load more options for those event cards and doing tricksy things. So there's even a card which is called "It's a Trap," which completely changes the mission. You don't the SAS are no longer doing what they thought they were doing. Now they just need to try and get out alive, and the alarm is immediately raised, and all the sentries rush on, and the tables are turned. So there's lots of
cool.
fun stuff like that in there.
So you talked about the base game, and then the setting that comes with it initially. So there's another question that people have. Certainly I do. Friends of General Haig wants to know if Clint Eastwood has an MP40, does he ever have to reload? In those metal character sets, are you going to be able to have that American officer as part of your team? Is that part of the medium-term plan?
Yeah, I want to, as I said, same as with Test of Honor, you can really mix whatever you want in this game. So the starter set will just focus on those Germans and the SAS, but we're going to put out a kind of get you by list of stats for all the other main countries as well, and obviously ultimately we'll want to bring out sets of Americans and Italians and
LRDG with the T-Rags on their head.
Yeah, there's stuff. Yeah, there's loads of great options there. And again, you can, if you imagine this was a film, then why not stick some Americans and some British and some French partisans, and I don't know.
There's always an American in the British movies, so that the Americans might watch the movie.
Yeah, and an Italian defector, who knows? You can mix it up however you want, and kind of imagine it's your film cast.
Yeah, and some girls.
Yeah, absolutely.
Naturally, the contact.
Yeah. I mean, I need to find who does them. I want French partisans, but I want all girls in the overcoats with the black berets, hello style, with the Sten gun under the overcoat. I'm sure I've seen
I may be able to sort you out quite soon.
Oh, right.
Oh,
like a whole faction of them.
To be revealed.
No comment.
I'm doing some cool partisan stuff that'll probably be the next set after the initial release. Right,
because it fits with that Northwest Europe setting.
Yeah,
that you've got.
As I said, do you not want the nuns with the MP40s?
So many cool options.
So many.
Yeah, right. And then just lastly, Callum sent some pictures, because these are these the plastic warlords?
They're a mix of two companies. So they're Plastic Warlord and Zenit Metals.
Right. Okay. Don't
ask me where Zenit are from. Somewhere in Europe. It's all in euros.
Right. That's a very long bit of plastic, that, isn't it? So that's the end of the pictures. Where did you get to with the hobbying? I did really well tonight, because I set myself a very unambitious target. So I have actually got some filler on all 8 of them. Is it 8 or 9? It's 9, because there was a bonus model with the starter army, wasn't there? That sweet samurai with the starter set. John, what'd you get up to?
I've successfully put decals on 4 additional shields.
Is that a black shield, John?
Yeah, I'm changing up Secundus to look very different. So,
right.
Yeah, man. Callum?
I finished all 5 packs.
Painting on sprue like a pro.
Pros paint on sprue.
How did you get on with your dog, Graham?
Yeah, literally, no fair. I proved that I can't talk and hobby at the same time. So the dog remains all I've managed, I'm afraid.
Well, wants a Helga miniature. Yeah, I don't want a Helga miniature. I want a life-size bust, mate. Oh gosh. So you're gonna be the one that releases the hello miniatures, all of them. Come on, do it.
This is it.
There's certainly a soupçon of inspiration from that direction.
It's soupçon. Yeah.
Please produce the painting as well, though.
Hope the Romans actually win again.
Never. That will never happen.
Well,
Not with me in charge.
Two changes I'm thinking about for those that have been following our SPQR campaign. I'm going to come back to you in a second, Graham, because it's just remembered another question. The 2 rules that I'm thinking about implementing in our SPQR campaign. One is everybody within an inch of another model can fight, so we don't have to snake. We can stay on blocks.
That'd be good. I
Because
would
you can
like
fight
that.
2 ranks deep and to the side because it looks stupid. That's one. The other is because John is so shite at the game, and the gladius is a thrusting, not a cutting weapon. Thinking of giving legionaries lethal 1.
Oh, naturally, standard.
So then we're not changing.
I nearly had you, mate.
or
Just
anything.
let me have more. Just let me have more Balearic slingers.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are the 2 changes I'm thinking we try for our next game. So, Graham, campaign then. I know in Test of Honor there's a progression system rather than a campaign, in that you can carry forward some of your achievements into the next game. Is there anything in 0 to 100 hours of that nature?
Yes, it's broadly similar idea essentially. So one of the card types are veteran skills, which allow you to kind of personalize a bit more. The particular guy might be a really good scout or a great shot or very different stuff like that. It would also include extra equipment, like, and maybe he's got extra grenades or stuff like that. And again, you choose a guy who's you've been particularly pleased with at the end of your game, and he can keep his veteran card for next time. So if you follow that through, your force will gradually become more experienced, more veteran as you go. And we're looking at. I think it would be a really good game for stringing scenarios together.
Yes.
And kind of create a narrative story. So taking you from, insertion, maybe it's a parachute drop, and then
a series of connected stories. Yeah, this is meet the contacts.
Yeah.
And there's find the safe house.
So
rob the bank.
Yeah, you can really string a story together, and maybe if this guy won, then the next game they start with that card or that piece of equipment and stuff like that. It's really works well for a storytelling type game.
And I suppose you can always flip it on your head as well. Like the cards aren't tied to models, so you could do Operation Sea Lion. They're over here. Germans are in Britain.
Oh yeah, you can work it that way around quite easily. Yes. Yeah.
Use the cab's army figures. This is a patrolling guys.
Perfect.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like there's so much scope there, and we're not even talking about the Eastern Front. There's still loads of, but then all of that. My interest is all of that special operations stuff starts in the Mediterranean. That's and there's what I really like about Britain in the Second World War, from the history, not from the reality of it, is the kind of plucky amateur. How much of it is like, it sounds like a good idea. Why didn't we give him a couple of riflemen and see what he can do? Because we're bloody losing everywhere. They're all just like some really bad ideas are tried out and so forth. And I kind of like that. Yeah, look, it's this Chindit's expansion pack, Kokoda Trail Australians. There's a lot potentially in this. There is a lot potentially in this. And the idea of a simple legacy game system, I really like. We've been having a lot of fun playing SPQ, and we really don't rate the system, and I don't really know anyone that does.
No.
Because it's a campaign, because we are invested in the character. And I know John's got a bolt action miniature of himself, which you're going to love to use in this game. No, you've got Captain Mannering, which you say is
it's the same thing.
He thinks is important. So I'm really enthusiastic about this. As soon as Graham gets a set to us, we'll get it reviewed for you guys, and hopefully we'll be able to get it played at least to sort of test a game. I talked to Graham after the show about whether there's any scope for us doing something together on that. If that's all right.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah, if that's something that we can do. I think would you run over just a little bit? So I think that's about it. If you are, speaking of campaigns, if you are interested in Warlord's new Air, Land, Sea campaign system and integrating the board game Combined Arms, we've reviewed it. They sent us a review copy, and they asked us to put the preview out on Thursday. They want it to tie in with some of their other marketing. You know, it didn't seem like a big ask. All they wanted to do was say which day we put it out. I think it's 7 o'clock on Thursday, if you're interested in that. And of course, I can't say much about it until then, but we did like it. All right, guys. That's it for me. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.